The backstage area of America's Got Talent was buzzing with the usual pre-show energy. Contestants paced nervously, vocal coaches ran through last-minute warm-ups, and producers checked their clipboards for the 100th time. But in the corner, sitting alone on a metal folding chair, was a woman who looked completely out of place among the polished performers and their professional entourages. Maria Santos was 42 years old, though hardship had aged her face beyond her years. Her black hair was pulled back into a simple ponytail, and she wore a modest blue dress that she had borrowed from a church donation bin just 3 days earlier. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched a small wooden cross that had belonged to her mother. She had no makeup artist, no vocal coach, no manager. She had only herself and a voice that had carried her through the darkest nights of her life. Maria had arrived in Los Angeles exactly 1 week ago, having spent every last peso she had on a one-way ticket from Manila. She had left behind her 3 children with her sister, promising them that she would return either with enough money to change their lives or not at all. It was a promise born of desperation, the kind of promise a mother makes when she has watched her children go to bed hungry one too many times. Growing up in the slums of Tondo, one of Manila's poorest districts, Maria had discovered her voice in the small Catholic church where her family attended Mass every Sunday. The priest, Father Miguel, had heard her singing along to the hymns and immediately recognized something special. He began giving her solo parts during services, and soon people were coming from other parishes just to hear the girl with the angel's voice. But angels cannot eat voices, and Maria's family needed money more than they needed songs. At 16, she dropped out of school to work in a garment factory. At 19, she married Roberto, a construction worker who promised her a better life. By 22, she had 3 children and a husband who had started drinking away his wages. By 25, Roberto was gone, leaving her alone with 3 mouths to feed and rent she could not pay. For the next 17 years, Maria worked every job she could find. She cleaned houses, sold vegetables in the market, took in laundry, and sang at small bars and restaurants for tips. On good nights, she might make enough to buy rice and dried fish for her children. On bad nights, she would sing them to sleep on empty stomachs, her voice the only comfort she could offer. The turning point came 6 months ago when a tourist from California heard her singing at a small beachside restaurant in Batangas. The woman, whose name was Jennifer, recorded Maria on her phone singing a Celine Dion song and posted it on social media with the caption, "This woman has the voice of an angel and is singing for tips." The video went viral in the Philippines, accumulating over 2 million views in just a few days. People began recognizing Maria on the streets. Some offered help, others just wanted selfies. A local news station did a story about her, which led to a few small paid performances. But Maria knew that viral fame was fleeting, especially in a country where poverty created new stories of struggle every single day. She needed something bigger, something that could actually change her family's trajectory forever. That was when Father Miguel, now an old man but still watching over his flock, came to her with an idea. He had been watching America's Got Talent online and believed that Maria had what it took to compete on the world's biggest talent stage. He helped her navigate the online audition process, recording her performance on a borrowed smartphone in the church where she had first discovered her gift. The producers had seen something special too. They flew her to Los Angeles for the live auditions, providing basic accommodation in a budget hotel near the studio. But Maria, unwilling to waste a single dollar that could go to her children, had been sleeping in that hotel room without eating, surviving on free breakfast at the hotel and whatever samples she could find at grocery stores. Now, as she sat in that backstage corner, Maria felt the weight of every sacrifice, every hungry night, every tear she had wiped from her children's faces pressing down on her shoulders. This was not just an audition. This was everything. A young production assistant with a headset and clipboard approached her. "Maria Santos. You're up in 5 minutes." Maria nodded and stood up, her legs feeling weak beneath her. She followed the assistant through the maze of backstage corridors, each step bringing her closer to either her dreams or her destruction. They stopped at the side stage entrance, where she could hear the muffled sounds of the judges talking to the previous contestant. Through a gap in the curtain, she could see them. Heidi Klum, with her warm smile and encouraging demeanor. Howie Mandel, animated and unpredictable. Sofia Vergara, glamorous and quick-witted. And Simon Cowell, the man whose opinion could make or break careers, sitting with his usual expression of skeptical boredom, arms crossed over his chest. Simon Cowell had seen everything in his decades of judging talent competitions. He had discovered global superstars and dismissed countless hopefuls. He was known for his brutal honesty, his impossibly high standards, and his rare but powerful moments of genuine emotion. Getting a standing ovation from Simon Cowell was the golden ticket that every contestant dreamed of. The assistant touched Maria's shoulder. "You're going to do great. Just remember to breathe and be yourself." Maria wanted to laugh at the simplicity of that advice. Be herself. Herself was a poor woman who had failed at almost everything except surviving. Herself was a mother who had left her children on the other side of the world with nothing but hope. Herself was terrified. The previous contestant finished, and Maria heard Terry Cruz voice boom through the theater. Our next act is Maria Santos, a singer from the Philippines. Let's give her a warm welcome. The lights hit her like a physical force as she walked onto that massive stage. The audience of thousands seemed to stretch into infinity, their faces blurring into a sea of expectation. Maria had performed in front of crowds before, but never like this. Never with cameras broadcasting to millions. Never with so much at stake. She reached the center mark on the stage and looked out at the judges' table. Simon Cowell barely glanced up from his phone. Terry Crews approached her with his megawatt smile. "Welcome to America's Got Talent. Tell us about yourself." Maria's hands gripped the microphone. When she spoke, her accent was thick but her English was clear. "Hello. My name is Maria Santos. I am 42 years old, and I come from Manila in the Philippines. I am a mother of 3 children, and I work many jobs to feed them. I clean houses, I sell in the market, and I sing whenever I can." Sofia Vergara leaned forward, her expression softening. "And where are your children now?" "They are in Manila with my sister. I came here alone because I spent all my money for the ticket. I promised them I would make a better life for us." Maria's voice cracked slightly, and she paused to compose herself. Simon Cowell finally looked up, his expression unreadable. "That's quite a risk to take. What if this doesn't work out?" The question hung in the air. Maria met his eyes directly. "Then I will have failed them, Mr. Cowell. But I have been failing them in small ways for many years because I cannot give them what they need. This is my chance to fail in a big way or to finally succeed. Either way, they will know I tried everything." Something flickered across Simon's face, gone too quickly to identify. He leaned back in his chair. "What are you going to sing for us?" Maria took a breath. "I will sing The Power of Love by Celine Dion. This song means very much to me because it is about how love can make you strong enough to face anything. I have sung this song to my children many nights when we had no food and no hope. My voice was the only thing I could give them." Heidi pressed her hands together. "We're ready when you are." The music began. Those opening notes of The Power of Love filled the theater, and Maria closed her eyes for just a moment, transporting herself away from the stage, away from the judges, away from the fear. She thought of her children. She thought of Rosa, her oldest, who wanted to be a teacher but had to drop out of school to help earn money. She thought of Miguel, named after the priest, who had a gift for mathematics but no books to study from. She thought of tiny Anna, only 7 years old, who had never owned a new dress in her life. When Maria opened her mouth and began to sing, something magical happened. Her voice soared through that theater like it had been caged for 42 years and was finally breaking free. It was not technically perfect in the way of trained opera singers. It was better. It was raw and honest and filled with every ounce of pain and hope that a human soul could contain. She sang with the power of a woman who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. The audience, which had been settling into their seats and checking their phones, went completely silent. Every eye fixed on the small woman at center stage who